Well, hello and good morning. My name is Paula Rester Salinas, and I'm coming to you from La Bergerie in Fredericksburg, Texas. And we're right here in the heart of the Texas Hill and Wine Country in the corridor between Austin and San Antonio. And today we're doing a celebration of mothers and daughters in advance of a wonderful promotion and backyard bazaar full of women makers for Mother's Day, May 7th and 8th. In the month of May here at La Bergerie. And I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome the fabulous duo that is the Lorenza wine team, Melinda Kearney and Michele Lorenza Ouellet. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Paula. Thank you so much for having us. This is so much fun.
How are you? Number one, I was mentioning that the last time I saw you was a few years ago, and the world has changed, and we're in a different place now. How has this been? I immediately thought of you guys because we've had to struggle to find connection, through Zoom, and I was like, well, they already have it down because you've been working on opposite coasts for so long and coming together on this project. And I know that your job as a model takes you all over the world. And you have two careers at once, and your mom and you have this amazing project. What has this year been like?
Yeah, it has been totally unrecognizable from my life before. I would be on a plane, probably at least once a week, whether it was flying for a photo shoot or going on a market visit or going out to California to meet with my mom and check on the vineyards and things like that. So yeah, this has been a rare opportunity to spend time at home. I moved to Venice Beach from New York in 2019. So I was happy to be in California during the pandemic.
Shutdowns.
Yeah, it was
closer to home.
Yeah, closer to home, better weather. So yeah, and all things considered, things are good. And I think the silver lining of this year with quiet travel has been being home, being able to focus on growing Lorenza and going deeper with Lorenza. And I have a desk for the first time in my life. That's my new reality.
And Melinda, I'm sure you've been happy to have her a little closer to home as well.
Oh, absolutely, Paula. It's just been great to have her in California, and then also to have kind of uninterrupted access to her. And our workflow has changed dramatically in the last year because she's, often she would be working on something in between shoots or in between shots actually, and texting me in the makeup chair, and so now we have a standing Zoom appointment in the morning. And we have a list of things that we're really just kind of accomplishing really beautifully. And so I'm so grateful for this. It has been, of course, this has been a year of challenges for everyone on so many different levels, and then also an opportunity to try new things and to see, just kind of what you're made of, because we've all had to dig deep, and, just to try things out. And so I feel like the resilience, all of our resilience has been tested, and we're finding new ways of being in the world. So yeah. Lorenza has found that way, and our workflow, Michele and my work together, has expanded in a really beautiful way, and I think it's benefited our business really nicely. I'm so grateful.
That's awesome. I've been following the hashtag Lorenza Life for a while, which I love. So if you're a user of social media, I would encourage you to put that in your repertoire. Celebration of all things rosé. And I know that you're entering your 13th year. So in 2008 you started. Can you tell us and our viewers a little bit more about the coming together and the journey of Lorenza wine from inception to where you are now?
Yeah, it's really crazy to think that we've been doing this for 13 years. It really flew by. And I guess, I have really grown up with the brand. When we started it, I was, let's say, barely 21. And so I grew up in Napa Valley. My parents moved there from Boulder to be in the epicenter of the food and wine culture in America. And so growing up in a food and wine centric family, these things were always really important to me. And just as I got older and started exploring the world a little bit more, I started realizing how special where I grew up was, and how food and wine is a wonderful way to connect with the world at large. So I started modeling at 15 and was off in Paris and having rosé for lunch, and thought, I love this. I'm French. I'm fabulous. I'll be at the cafe and I'm never coming home. But of course I did. And my mom kind of like heard a little brilliant notion in that sentence, which was, I love rosé. There's something in the spirit of rosé that is really captivating and really magical. And my mom had really loved Provençal rosé and loved working with them at when she was in the restaurant business. So it was kind of like a little seed had been planted where, oh, you know what, there might be an opportunity to do something together around rosé. At the time, that was not a very common type of wine to be working with in Napa Valley. It was, people were like, rosé, sure, I guess. Like, it's more of an afterthought or a byproduct. So it was kind of like a novel idea, but something we both felt really passionate about. And in addition to making amazing, high quality Californian rosé, one of our biggest intentions was to stay connected as I continued to travel the world. So that has been our number one goal with Lorenza. And I'd say we've definitely accomplished it because we're on the phone like all day long. I feel really, really lucky to be able to work with my mom and learn from her. She's an absolute legend in the wine industry. Everyone loves her everywhere we go. And so I feel like I'm really learning from a pro as we, take Lorenza out into the world.
It really is such a genius. It's a beautiful wine and always delicious to drink. I mean, I love Bandol rosé and rosés from Provence, and certainly, when you're drinking it in the glass, there is a connection there. But with the beautiful fruit that you guys have so carefully sourced from some of the oldest sites in Lodi, and I know you're celebrating being able to move into full sustainable farming this year, but just as a brand too, and your mom being such an industry veteran, from everything from marketing to winemaking to being a director of operations of a winery, you just really feel the benefit of that experience, but with the fun of the brand as well. So it's great fun to get to share the story with our guests, and then of course it's always about what's in the glass, which is delicious. I'm actually going to put some in my glass right now.
Let's do it. I'm glad that comes through to you too. I think we really enjoy having, that baseline of my mom's vast experience and knowledge and her connections and like really knowing the ins and outs of the wine industry. And then, I come from the fashion world and a younger generation, and there's all these other things that go on. So what we really love to do with Lorenza is kind of play with the balance of those two elements of like really solid principles, but also having like some fresh perspective and little attitude.
A little tude never hurts.
Yeah.
Melinda, how did you go about sourcing the fruit for Lorenza? And I know it's slowly changed while maintaining its identity over the years, and I feel like it just keeps getting better and better.
Thank you, Paula. I think that was the biggest joy, was to actually just go out and build something, one relationship at a time. And it's relationships rather than just, grabbing some grapes somewhere in a vineyard. It's, as always, and with everything, to be able to work closely with a farmer and a family, and to understand where they're coming from, and to bring together our perspective, which was different than the norm back then. And I think we've been around long enough to kind of understand, people understand what we're trying to do with picking early and having a low alcohol and high acid, very pale wine. But really, the very beginning was driving around and with very, very little knowledge of the area, just looking for old vines. And I had access to a wonderful person who was happy to tell me where I was and who owned that vineyard, and to steer me in the right direction. And each door opened up another door, and those relationships are still in place. And so we've been really, really lucky. Looking at the soil in Lodi is so different than, I live in Napa Valley, which is where Michele grew up. The vineyards are in Lodi, which is about 2 hours away from here. And it's in the California Delta. So there's
sandy loamy soils, or
sandy loamy soil.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's very different than here, and it's very open. So Napa Valley is, it's a valley with the Mayacamas range and the Vaca range. Lodi is very open and very flat, and so it's it was just unusual to be able to drive everywhere and be able to see everything that you were trying to find. And the old vines were just an incredible treat to work with. And, many of them had trained and planted in the early 1900s or late 1800s. So the magic of working with a vine that had 100 harvests, produced 100 crops, that's incredible, really. And just to think that we're bookmarking in a bottle a single harvest. And so all the things that were going on. So, you got to think about the history. And then also, aesthetically, because we're, I think, as Michele said, Rosé is such a magical kind of emotion evoking wine. I mean, we're all just so entranced by it. Looking at the contrast between the old gnarly vines, they're lichen, is it kind of speckled with lichen and, peeling bark, and, it's all great. And then contrasting that with this beautiful, delicate, pale pink wine. It's, I love that. It feels super dynamic.
So you talked about each specific vintage. So what we're drinking right now is the 2020, and it's just yummy. You get the citrus fruit, the stone fruit. It's structured. You get the spice. Like what are you particularly loving about vintage? I know you're working with a little more Mourvedre than you have in the past, and it's just delicious.
Oh, thank you so much. We, I did a comparative tasting last summer, and wanted to bring in a little more juiciness and a little more structure to the wine. A little roundness. I think we have a lot of structure, period, because we're, there's a lot of, acid structure, and there's, some good things, but the Mourvedre really has given, we love the wines of Bandol, and, we feel like that's a very serious area, and wanted to just take a little cue from, those wines there and just bring in a little extra, go back to our first two vintages where we were dominant Ouellet. So I really love that. I love there's a kind of a roundness in the mid palate
Mhm.
that feels like it's almost like, and it's not a sweet candy, but it's like a weight
Mhm.
that's very round and beautiful, and it just sits on the tongue, and everything else is really active around it. And then there's this mid, like a deep mid palate presence that I just really love. So
Everything
try
else is
to
kind of dancing and and then it's that red kind of grounds it in the mid palate. Yeah, I love that.
yeah, yeah. I typically think about the Mourvèdre offering structure and, kind of some texture down the mid palate. And this year we have just this round weight, and it's really beautiful.
I feel like it adds a little bit of like age worthiness too. So, certainly we love to drink it in a current vintage, but certainly if you had it a couple years old, it's still yummy.
Yeah, we do find, well, every vintage of Lorenza so far, and we don't have the first couple of vintages anymore, but from there, we have done some vertical tastings and have found age worthiness all throughout all the vintages, and would like to encourage people to enjoy aged rosé. I think it's really a treat. And I know Michelle and I, we actually took a Mother's Day trip to Provence a few years back, and it was the most wonderful experience. We went to Tempier, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle, tell us a little bit about that. That was so profound.
It was really, really fun. And it really, I mean, Mother's Day, we felt like we were going to the motherland of rosé. It was really a special trip.
And
And
so many great women producers coming out of that part of the world too already.
yeah, it was absolutely inspiring. And of course, Tempier has been a huge inspiration to us, another woman helmed winery. And we were lucky to be able to visit. And we tasted a 1999 Tempier Rosé. And that was just such a fun experience. You just rarely get the opportunity to taste a rosé that has been made so well.
Mhm.
And of course, they stored it very well at the winery. And then, to taste this spectacular aged rosé, it was like liquid gold. It was really, really fun. And honestly, like piqued our interest in, um, aging rosé. I think it's a really fun concept. And like in many things, we like to encourage people to buck the rules. And like, we don't need to be worrying about like every single, oh, this is a 2018. Like, give it a try. It might be great. So, we want to encourage people to experiment with aged rosé and to have an open mind, as always, when you're tasting wine.
I actually did an aged rosé dinner with Maggie Harrison from Antica Terra, and it was just mind blowing. And I think we poured some Tempier, we poured some Oreo on Valangron Rosé de Rici, we poured some Lopez de Heredia aged rosé, and I'm right on board with you. I'm excited about learning more about how rosé ages and bucking the rules. And because rosé is about pure joy anyway, throw the rules out the window.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah. I think it's actually like quite a cool conversation starter. If you're going to dinner with some of your like wine nerd friends,
Mhm.
what a unexpected thing to bring than like a beautifully aged rosé. I think that's really would be an unusual, cool thing to do.
All right. Well, you're invited to dinner then. When the world opens up.
Let's do it.
I'm also really excited. I've been hearing this term bandied about purse wine. And I was like, well, what's that all about? And then I tasted for the first time the delicious this is a purse made by Erin Cartier from Roarin, and she works in all sustainable leathers, and she's going to be one of our makers at our bazaar.
Cute.
So we're definitely going to trick out all of her bags on May 7th and 8th with the Lorenza canned rosé spritz wine. I'm in love with this. It's so tasty.
Good.
And now I'm a follower and big fan of purse wine. So
I love
it. When did you kind of like embrace, you know, the canned wine category and just decide to have fun and go with this delicious kind of slightly frizzante version of Lorenza, because it's so yummy.
Thank you so much. We started doing that, let's say 3 years ago it would be, right, Mom?
Well, actually, we're doing our 4th canning Thursday and Friday of this week.
Ah.
But the idea kind of came around when we were coming up on our 10 years of Lorenza, and you know, we have been really dedicated to making only one wine and being really true to true rosé. And so we wanted to celebrate with making something fun, bubbly, in a can, super cute, but still the same amazing high quality that you expect from Lorenza. So that was our goal with Lorenza Spritz, and it's been really fun to see the canned wine category really kind of find its footing. I think the pandemic actually was quite canned wine friendly. You know, you can like, it's good for socially distant things.
Yeah, like as we embraced nature and kind of, you know, like that was one of the only safe places we could go to. I mean, like, you don't want to pack a full bottle in your backpack and carry that out into the wilderness, but it's so easy to pop a little Lorenza Spritz in your fanny pack and go. I mean, and it still has that citrusy, juicy watermelon, and it's very clean. You know, I cannot wait to go get my nails done with my girlfriends, because we always bring our own wine and introduce them to the Lorenza Spritz, which I just love it.
Amazing. How fun. Yeah, it's been a great little thing to play with and fun to have a new, a little line extension, if you will. It's really fun. You know, now we have a couple ways to enjoy Lorenza. Usually Lorenza Spritz earlier on in the evening, maybe like in a cocktail, or over ice with a sprig of thyme and a lemon rind. You know, it really just goes with whatever you want it to. And then later in the evening, move into Lorenza Rosé. It's been nice to kind of build out the world a little bit.
That's incredible. So what's next? What's on the horizon? What's cooking? What's now for you guys for the next few years?
Yeah, well, we did this year bottle a single vineyard rosé. I'm scooping it right this second. Michelle's looking at me like, whoa.
Yeah, great.
So we did bottle a few cases of the Bechtold Rosé. So that is something very new for us, to highlight one single vineyard of the little stable of vineyards that we have worked with. And we're very excited about that. And that will come out in a month or so to our mailing list. We don't have, you probably don't have enough to send around the country, but we'll have enough.
Start at home and then grow it.
And then we have a couple of other little ideas up our sleeve for this harvest, and are excited to share that when we get there. Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to continue to enjoy your wines for years to come and to share them with our guests. And we're so grateful for your generous time this morning. And again, Lorenza Rosé is going to be available by the glass at both La Bergerie and Otto's, and bottle for the month of May and beyond. You can also pick up a can of spritz at La Bergerie to go. And we can't wait to share this with our guests on May 7th and 8th ahead of Mother's Day, and celebrate this incredible mother-daughter duo at our Backyard Bazaar. And incidentally, the Backyard Bazaar is going to be benefiting an organization called Tirza International, which provides professional development to women in impoverished countries and assist them in building businesses that are craft-based. We couldn't think of a better partner to help us raise some money for this event. So thank you both so incredibly much. And I'm so glad I got to open a bottle because I'm going to just enjoy it for the rest of the day. Thank you for your time.
Oh, Paula, thank you so much for having us. We're just delighted and so nice to see you. And we'll look forward to an in-person meeting here shortly.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll open up again. All right, Sante.
Thank you. Great event. That sounds so much fun. I wish I could be there.